Something unexpected happened behind the scenes at Joyce Meyer Ministries, a twist nobody could have predicted. After almost 2 decades of broadcasting on Dyer TV, Joyce Meyer suddenly disappeared from the network in 2025. The official explanation was vague, leaving fans and followers confused. But leaked documents revealed a more complicated story, one that went beyond finances and touched on allegations serious enough to shake the ministry's foundation. Insiders claim this could mark a turning point, perhaps the beginning of a new era or even a decline. The woman who built a $100 million empire, who inspired millions with her faith and teachings, suddenly faced her darkest hour. But what really happened at Dyer? And how did Joyce Meyer rise from a life shadowed by trauma to become one of the most influential Christian voices in the world? To understand that, we need to go back to the very beginning, a childhood that shaped her faith, her resilience, and eventually, her ministry. Joyce Meyer was born Pauline Joyce Hutcherson on June 4, 1943, in South St. Louis, a city weighed down by the impact of World War II. Her father, a machinist, was drafted into the army the very day she was born, leaving the family with an early absence that would have lasting effects. He was gone for 3 years, returning in 1946, changed by war. When he returned, nothing was the same. Joyce described her father as distant, heavy with anger, and often drunk. Her mother, already carrying the weight of financial and emotional strain, struggled to maintain stability. Within this tense environment, young Joyce began experiencing a darkness that would haunt her for years. By the time Joyce was 3, she says the sexual abuse began. These were traumatic secrets hidden behind closed doors, unspoken and unseen. Her mother, fearful and battered by her own experiences, remained silent. That silence, Joyce would later reflect, was one of the deepest wounds of her childhood. She learned early that no one might come to her rescue, leaving her trapped in a world that seemed impossible to escape. Her father's behavior escalated as she grew older. Alcohol and control turned into physical abuse, strict punishments, and isolation. Joyce watched other children play freely while she lived under constant fear. By age 10, the abuse was a regular weekly occurrence, continuing for nearly a decade. Through her early years, Joyce felt the crushing weight of loneliness, fear, and guilt. Her mother, present yet absent emotionally, could not provide the protection Joyce so desperately needed. Yet even in the darkest times, a spark began to form. At 9 years old, in 1952, Joyce discovered a small measure of solace. Sitting in a South St. Louis classroom, she opened a Bible on her own. The words of love, forgiveness, and hope felt like gentle hands reaching toward her, offering a quiet doorway out of the darkness. Slowly, she became a born-again Christian, clinging to faith as a lifeline. Faith did not immediately shield her from the horrors at home. The abuse continued, sometimes weekly, through her teenage years. By the time she turned 18, Joyce had endured over 200 incidents of abuse, each leaving invisible marks that shaped her perception of herself and the world. Despite the trauma, something inside her yearned for freedom. At 18, in 1961, she finally left her home, stepping into a world of uncertainty but also possibility. Her first breath of independence was shaky, but it was a step toward reclaiming her life. Joyce's first marriage brought no relief. She married a man who deceived her, cheated, and left her stranded on more than one occasion. The marriage ended in 1966, leaving Joyce to return to her parents' home, a place heavy with old memories and unresolved pain. Her second marriage also faced challenges, leaving her wounded and questioning her path. By 1965, she had her first child, Laura, while still navigating financial hardships, depression, and lingering trauma. Working full-time as a bank teller in a small apartment, Joyce faced the pressures of early motherhood while grappling with unresolved pain from her past. Counseling offered intermittent relief but did not fully reach the deep roots of her trauma. Through this difficult period, Joyce gradually leaned back into her faith. Each small step, a Bible study, prayer, moments of reflection, became the foundation for the ministry she would one day lead. In 1976, at age 33, Joyce experienced a pivotal moment. Driving to work, tired and burdened, she prayed as she had countless times before. But this time, something shifted. She later recalled hearing her name called 3 times, clear, personal, and powerful. The experience shook her to her core. It was a moment of awakening that transformed her faith from quiet belief into purposeful action. This turning point inspired Joyce to start gathering co-workers during lunch breaks, opening her Bible with them and sharing lessons that addressed real-life struggles. Initially a group of 25 to 30, these sessions grew steadily, eventually reaching hundreds as word spread. Her honesty about her struggles and vulnerability resonated deeply with participants. By the early 1980s, Joyce and her husband joined Life Christian Center in Fenton, Missouri, where she started a women's Bible study expecting only a handful of attendees. Instead, 115 women showed up for the first session. Within weeks, the number swelled to 500. Recognizing her unique ability to connect with people, Pastor Rick Shelton invited her to speak on Sundays and eventually ordained her as an associate pastor in 1980, an unusual honor for a woman at the time. Joyce's work extended beyond Sunday services. She helped run a 15-minute radio segment with Pastor Shelton focused on emotional healing through Scripture. The show's success planted the seeds for her independent ministry. In 1983, at 40, she launched her own radio program, Life in the Word, initially airing on a single St. Louis station. Within 2 years, it expanded to 6 stations across the Midwest, reaching listeners in Chicago, Kansas City, and beyond. Joyce's honesty, openly discussing abuse, trauma, and fear, distinguished her voice. She did not share her story to shock, but to provide hope and a path to healing. By 1984, her ratings had jumped 50%, as listeners who had felt unseen finally found validation and encouragement. By 1985, the demand for her work prompted her to resign from her associate pastor role and officially found Life in the Word as an independent nonprofit ministry. Operating from her home with initial funding of $50,000, Joyce hired staff, including her husband Dave, who managed operations. Legal incorporation followed in 1985, with tax-exempt status granted in 1986. These small beginnings laid the foundation for a ministry that would eventually reach millions. In 1986, Joyce released the Battlefield of the Mind radio series, focusing on internal struggles like fear, depression, and traumatic memories. Listeners responded powerfully, purchasing over 10,000 cassette tapes in the first year alone. The series eventually became her best-selling book, cementing her reputation as a voice addressing struggles most people hid. By the early 1990s, Joyce's work expanded into television. She launched Enjoying Everyday Life on WGN-TV and BET in 1993, reaching about 1 million viewers each month within 2 years. By 1997, the show aired in 20 countries, including segments reenacting traumatic experiences to help viewers understand and overcome personal struggles. Her ministry's reach continued to grow alongside its impact. In 1997, a new $20 million headquarters in Fenton, Missouri, allowed for the production of over 300 episodes per year. She spoke openly about her personal life, including 3 divorces and the infidelity of her second marriage. These admissions, far from deterring her audience, drew people closer, as her honesty mirrored the struggles of her viewers. Philanthropy and social impact. Beyond preaching, Joyce Meyer Ministries became a hub for charitable work. In 2000, she and her husband opened the St. Louis Dream Center, providing addiction recovery programs, food distribution, after-school support, and housing for men in need. By 2002, the ministry was generating $110 million annually, enabling large-scale humanitarian efforts. After the 2010 Haiti earthquake, the ministry delivered $5 million in aid and helped construct permanent housing for survivors. Through these initiatives, Joyce's personal experiences with trauma and recovery informed her commitment to protecting and empowering vulnerable populations. From adoptions for abused children to anti-trafficking partnerships, her ministry's social footprint was immense. Controversy and criticism. Despite the positive impact, Joyce Meyer Ministries faced scrutiny. Reports surfaced regarding high salaries, luxury spending, and audits revealing controversial expenditures, including a $23,000 marble commode. In 2007, Senator Chuck Grassley initiated an investigation into 6 prominent televangelists, including Joyce, focusing on private jets, foreign accounts, and ministry spending. The ministry fully complied with all requests. While no illegal activity was found, the investigations prompted reforms, stricter oversight, financial transparency, and the creation of an independent board. Even so, critics continued to question her wealth and spending. In 2024, a new controversy emerged at Dyer Television Network. Leaked documents suggested serious mishandling of abuse reports by network leadership. Joyce, who had aired her programs on Dyer for nearly 20 years, made the difficult decision to leave the network in early 2025. Though she lost about 10% of her audience, she transitioned to TBN, Lifetime, and YouTube, expanding her digital presence and connecting with younger viewers through devotionals, live Q&As, and open conversations about trauma and faith. Resilience and leadership. Throughout her life, Joyce Meyer has faced personal trauma, failed relationships, financial scrutiny, and public controversy. Yet her resilience and commitment to faith, honesty, and service have defined her legacy. On November 14, 2025, her daily devotional Discipline Brings Reward reached over 400,000 downloads in a single week, resonating deeply with those witnessing her navigate yet another season of conflict. Joyce's story is a testament to survival, faith, and leadership. She turned childhood trauma into empathy, hardship into guidance, and personal challenges into a ministry that touches millions worldwide. Even in the face of scandal and scrutiny, she continues to inspire, teach, and advocate for healing, integrity, and hope.